before we play this game, we have to tell a little story. Because in order for you to realize how ridiculous this game truly is, you need to know the backstory. So, let's see. 6th grade for me would have been 6 years before 2010, so it would have been 2004. So in 2004, I was in middle school, or high school, middle school, 6th grade. I was in 6th grade, and there was a cool phenomenon going around called Flash games. And a lot of you probably grew up in the Flash game era, but you may or may not have been in school at the time, so you might have had an understanding of what Flash games were, but maybe you weren't super into them. If you were in school at the time, you were probably super into them. We were. Flash games were free Adobe Flash games on a bunch of different websites. InFlash, MiniClip, bunch of different Flash game websites. Congregate was GameStop's official one. Newgrounds, stick figure sites like stickfight.com I think was one. Stickdeath.com was one. Stick Avalanche was one. So Flash games were super popular. They were free. Some of them had like advertising, but not really. I mean, 99% of them didn't even have advertising. It's not like today where if you get a free mobile game, it has an ad on it. This was way before ad revenue was really a thing other than with corporate sites. So they're really just free games that people just put on the internet for fun. Usually just fan projects. You had like weird Sonic fan projects. This is like the Sonic creepypasta game that existed back then. Stick fights were a huge one. People make stick fight movies and stuff. And I was super into all that, and everyone was. Some of the most popular Flash games were the Chopper Flash game, the Green Chopper. That was a lot like Flappy Bird. There was Bloons Tower Defense. There was a lot of Tower Defense ones. There were some super popular ones on Congregate, like Sunny. I think one of the ones that's still popular nowadays is that RPG one. What is it called? It's on Steam now, believe it or not. There were the bow and arrow games. Those were super popular. Super Meat Boy started as a Flash game. So Flash games were super popular. They were popular enough to where in school we used to, at the end of classes, when there was a couple minutes left and the teacher was done teaching, the teachers would allow us to get on the computers and play Flash games. And also like typing class and stuff. They would, the teacher would be like, once you're done with your typing stuff, you can play Flash games. There were school-driven ones as well. There was Study Island. There was that Math Blaster. What was the math one? CoolMathGames.com. Ones that the teachers would try to, implement. But a lot of times we just play whatever was popular at the time. And more than almost any other Flash game, probably one of the most popular and one of the ones that made Flash games a relevant thing that everyone knew existed was a Flash game called Elf Bowling. And it was incredibly simple, but it was funny enough and disturbing enough to where, you know, it was very well known. Everyone knew that Elf Baby line and all that, and we would play it in school and get a good laugh, and the teachers would be like, "This is ridiculous," and especially around Christmas time, you'd see us playing it and stuff, right? So, what I'm about to show you defies all logic and all sense of really just living on this planet. I don't know how this exists. I'll never understand how or why it exists. But here it is. This is Elf Bowling 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance. This is real. This exists. Like in a box with an official Nintendo seal. This was published. Someone made this. It got an ESRB rating. I just want you to sit and just bask in this for just a minute. Somebody took a free Flash game that has about 2 seconds of gameplay. It's not even like a deep Flash game like Sunny or Bloons Tower Defense or Onslaught. It's not. It's like 2 seconds of gameplay. It was basically just a goofy, you know, piece of online memorabilia. They took that and officially licensed it and put it on a Game Boy Advance cartridge. Game Boy Advance. Not Game Boy. Game Boy Advance. The advanced version of Game Boy. They put Elf Bowling on. And it's not... I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like, okay, they obviously took the idea of Elf Bowling and upgraded it for the Game Boy Advance and put a sequel on there as well. So there's probably a lot more to it. And they even made an Elf Bowling movie. I'm going to let that sit for a minute. They made an Elf Bowling movie. They did. It exists. There is an Elf Bowling movie. You can find it on the internet. Here's a picture of it. In case you wonder what that looked like. But okay, so someone took, you know, it's kind of like Angry Birds, where like someone took something that was popular and they spun it in their own way, right? Like, okay, people remember Elf Bowling, right? So let's make a new game based on Elf Bowling. Let's make a movie based on Elf Bowling. Let's try to hone in on people's nostalgia for Elf Bowling, right? That is not what this is. This is just Elf Bowling. They just took the Flash game and put it on a Game Boy Advance cartridge. I can't fathom how that even happens. How? This is the equivalent of putting a calculator on the Game Boy Advance and selling it. Like, I am so lost, and it's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. When I realized this existed, I had to own it. I had to find it and own it because it just blows my mind that it even exists. And it even has a manual. It has a manual. There's a manual for Elf Bowling. And I think it has a story. They gave it a story. How do you give Elf Bowling a story? It's impossible. All right, but we'll get to all that. I need to show you. For those of you not familiar with Elf Bowling, I need to show you what this game is all about. So prepare yourself. We're playing this on the Game Boy Player. Elf Bowling on the Game Boy Advance. Here we go. So this screen, as far as I understand, is the only thing they did. Like, this is the only thing they added. This is the only piece of anything that they put together themselves, was this screen for you to pick the game. So here we go. This is the entire game. This is it. There's no music. There's no ending cutscene. There's no nothing. This is it. This was put in a box and sold for the Game Boy Advance with Nintendo's blessing. There's no hooking the ball. There's no nothing. There's a couple funny animations. Look, they're dancing. But this is it. And I mean, I'm not surprised, because it's a Flash game from the early 2000s. I don't expect it to be much more. But, like, this is on Game Boy Advance. I just... Every time I look at this, my brain just can't comprehend the fact that this is on a Game Boy Advance. You know? Also, they're robots. That's the twist ending. That's the twist lore of the game. Is that they're robots. So yeah. So I did exaggerate a bit, because this game also has another game. And you'd think, okay, maybe they brought Elf Bowling 1.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Maybe they brought Elf Bowling 1 to the console as like a callback to the original Flash game. And this one is the real meat of the game, right? Like, this one is the one that they actually made for the Game Boy Advance. This isn't a Flash game. The first one was just for the memes. This is the point of putting the game on the Game Boy Advance, right? So this is where all the content is going to be. You ready for Elf Bowling 2?
Was a good one. This game sucks. Look out. This game sucks.
This is it. It's just shuffleboard with the same every single time you get a turn, and every single time the AI gets a turn. And this is it. This is the whole game. No music other than the which is bit crushed to oblivion. That's it. The arrow in the bowling game moves left to right, and you hit A when it's in the middle. In this game, you hit A to aim and A to fire, and that's it. That's a whole Game Boy Advance cartridge with a box and a manual and everything, and a Nintendo seal of approval. And somebody played this and thought it needs a story. So in the manual, there's a story for both of these games. You can't even, like, skip the AI's turn or look at the score, but, like, I can't even look at the board, like, what? This seems like a good time to tell you the story. Okay. So here's the in-depth lore for Elf Bowling 1. Here we go. This is the story they wrote up. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and at the North Pole, Santa's sleigh was packed tight, the reindeer ready to go. Oh, this... Oh, they rhymed go with pole. When out in the snow there arose such a clatter, Saint Nick sprang from the can to see what was the matter. The elves are on strike, cried Mrs. Claus with disdain. What shall we do, Santa? Come on, rack your fat brain. Santa's face began to sparkle. He shouted Merry Christmas to all. He dashed to the coat closet and grabbed his 16-pound ball. Santa began to laugh so hard his stomach was rolling. Come on, you old woman, it's time for elf bowling. That's it. Oh no, wait. There's more in-depth lore. Trouble brews in the Arctic North. The recent explosion of online Christmas purchases has more than doubled the demand of the typically lazy workers of the ETMU, the Elf Toy Makers Union. Under the legal advice of Elliot Elf, the union's chief counsel, the elves have decided to strike against Santa's Workshop Incorporated. Upon hearing the news, President Claus knows there's only one way to resolve this conflict in time for Christmas. Elf bowling. Yeah, no, I have a couple questions. So, first of all, to stop the elves from rioting, from going on strike, he throws bowling balls at them.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, but why are they robots? Because in the Elf Bowling, the first game, the first series, the first extended universe, they are canon to be robots.
Wow!
I know. So, where do the robots come in? Also, these directions are pretty incredible. They legitimately tell you how to pause and how to unpause. And once you get to the final screen, it tells you how to play again or quit. When the game is over, you'll see your final score. Select play again to start another game or quit to return to the title screen. Use control pad left or control pad right to highlight the option that you want and then press the A button. Let's move on to the Elf Bowling 2 story arc. It's going to get good. Oh, this story is much shorter. The Great Santa's Elf Strike brought the North Pole to its knees. The belligerent survivors of elf bowling made heavy demands on Old Man Kringle. Higher wages, lower urinals, less fish in the cafeteria, and a fabulous cruise to every little man's dream destination, Micronesia? Meanwhile, Mother Kringle, a bit petulant and after having just turned 271, had different ideas. She handed over Rudolph's reins to Santa's unemployed older brother, and still her favorite, Dingle Kringle. Despite his erratic behavior and his failure as a used ice salesman. But being a lonely gaming man, Dingle challenged Chris to double or nothing. Step aboard the SS Kringle cruise and help Chris keep the title of Father Christmas. That's Elf Bowling. There truly is nothing else. I suppose Elf Bowling, aka Elf Shuffleboard. Why is it called Elf Bowling 2? Is it because they wanted to cash in on Elf Bowling 1? I feel like they could have called it Elf Shuffleboard and it would have been fine. There isn't even an animation when they hit each other. It just kind of like skips and then they end up somewhere. God, that noise is terrible. Okay. Apparently this elf is a... Ow! I knocked his off the board. That sound is so grating. Why does he get another ×2? I haven't gotten to times 2. I got a times 2 in the first round, I think. That's it. He's gotten 2. Oh, big rip. Oh god, what happened to my Elb's face?
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? Oh, that's it. That's it. That is the entirety of this Game Boy Advance game.